All right, everyone, you know what time it is. It's patch time. All right, balance patch 1.2 for Legends of Runeterra Rising Tides. Let's get into it. So the first change is one I'm very excited about, and it's a buff to Vladimir. Vladimir's a bit weak, very weak. Quite weak, doesn't see any play like at all. So now for each other attacking ally, it deals 1 to them and drains from the enemy nexus. So this is a huge change because now it offers you healing in an archetype that you wouldn't normally have healing, because a lot of times when you play, you know, Battle Scars Vlad, whatever, by the time Vlad's online, you're close to dead. So this is huge. It's going to be a very big change. It changes how the card works. In general, you still get the damage in, but now you heal. It is awesome. I'm super excited, and I will be making some Vlad decks. All right, let's talk about the nerf to Karma. So Karma got her mana increased by 1. So now instead of being 5 cost, she's a 6 cost champion. They talked about how they wanted to make sure that you had less that you could do on the turn that you play Karma, because when you play her, that's when the game gets pretty degenerate for whoever's playing the Karma. We'll see if this makes much of a change. They did say that they have Ezreal Karma on a watch list. Ezreal's seen substantially less play. It's not running the game like it used to before Rising Tides. So they're still keeping an eye on it, but no change to Ezreal this time around. And just a minor tweak to Karma to see if this kind of just tones her back power level a bit. I like this because it's not like nerfing her into the ground or making it where you can't play her. She's still very good. It just makes it to where she's a little bit more reasonable. All right, we have another champion buff, and it's to another champion that we all probably forgot was in the game, and it's to Shen. So they gave Shen a little bump in power, so they increased his power by 1, increased his attack by 1. So now he can actually trade into things when he's attacking. Shen's weird because support is just difficult as a mechanic because the attacking unit that's, you know, giving the support is left unprotected. So while he's giving, you know, barrier and doing all the Shen things, he himself is just pretty naked when he attacks. So this will hopefully make it to where he can trade into things a little better. They can't just like block whatever they want into him. So we'll see if this is enough to make Shen more played. People who like Shen, rejoice. He's a little better. Doesn't make me any more excited to play him. So there's Shen. All right, we have a slight nerf to Vi, and Vi is getting her toughness reduced by 1. Since she already has tough, having all of that health makes her really, really difficult to deal with. So this does, you know, Vi is really good just because she can slot into so many decks and just be good because you don't have to do anything special with her. You just put her in the deck and she's strong. There's no build around required for her. And when she's out, she can be pretty tough to deal with just because, you know, tough creatures in general are hard to get rid of. They're tough to get rid of. So yeah, we'll see. I think this is a pretty good change myself, just because sometimes Vi is out there and you have no way to kill her because all of a sudden your grasps don't do anything, and all this stuff. She just beats everything up in combat. So a slight reduction in her power level overall, I think it's pretty good. Again, same thing with Karma. It just makes it where she's not now suddenly unplayable. She's just a little weaker. And we have for our last champion change, it is a buff to Hecarim. Ever since they nerfed Hecarim, he saw substantially less play. So now they're increasing his power by 1 so that he is a bit more of a threat on his own. I like this. I'm glad they didn't just like revert the change or like give him more toughness or something. I think this is pretty interesting. Maybe we'll see more Hecarim. I haven't seen a lot of Hecarim lately. I still like him. I love him in the like Callista Hecarim decks. I think he's very fun, but he's hard to justify just because he doesn't put on enough pressure on his own. So this 1 point of power actually it's quite a bit since he does have Overwhelm. So we will see if this is enough to bring back old Hecarim. I wouldn't worry for anyone panicking because Hecarim was such a force before. I don't think he's suddenly now the force to be destroying ladder, but maybe we'll see him a little bit more now. All right, on to buffs and nerfs for non-champion cards, and let's start with the Great Horn Companion. So this card is getting a buff, so we can unloose the moose a little more. It's getting its power increased from 4 to 5. So there's some other changes in other scout cards that I'm going to talk about next that are getting a reduction in power, so they wanted to bump this up so that you have more scout options. It's good. The only time I ever even see this card is when you get it off of Remembrance. I'm trying to think if there's any other time I ever see the card, but now we can get the dream of Unloose the Moose. 5 attack, better than 4. All right, I'm going to talk about both of these at the same time, and we have Grizzled Ranger and Badger Bear are both getting a reduction in their power. So Grizzled Ranger is going from a 4-1 to a 3-1, and Badger Bear is going from a 4-4 to a 3-4. I think these are very reasonable, something that a lot of people have been calling for, unless you're playing just mono Demacia Bannerman and that's all you're playing and you're upset now because your favorite deck just got a little drop in power. But Grizzled Ranger is nuts. The stats on the card were just broken. Having 4-1 that gets to attack and then having a 4-4 on the backside is crazy. So they nerfed both these cards at the same time. I'm happy to see it. I think it is reasonable. I mean, Badger Bear still at 3 mana 3-4 is not bad. It's just 3 mana 4-4 is crazy stats, especially when you get it off the Grizzled Ranger. The big problem with it's not that Badger Bear itself is, you know, degenerate or broken necessarily. It's just that it comes off of Grizzled Ranger. So getting to attack for 8 with both sides of Grizzled Ranger and Badger Bear, now you're getting 6. So it's a lot less. I think it's a lot more reasonable in power level. It needed to happen. So I think the cards are still fine. They're just not an auto include in every single Demacia deck. All right, we have a buff for the Laurent Chevalier. This is getting an increase in health by 1, so it's going from 1 health to 2 health. This card sees basically no play. I can't remember the last time I actually saw this, that someone actually put in their deck willingly. So this might make it a little more reasonable. The card itself is actually pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool card, but it's just, it doesn't, like, it's so frail, it's so easy to kill, it doesn't do enough. So maybe with this increase in health, it'll help a bit. Now it won't just die to Vile Feast, which I think is important, or Parlay, which is all over the place. So yeah, the bump in health, I don't know if it's enough to make the card playable. It is a sweet card. I'd like to see more uses for it, but I don't know. I don't think it's good enough still. But hey, a buff's a buff. So we're seeing a nerf to a card that brings a lot of people a lot of frustration, and that is Stand Alone. So it's getting its mana increased from 3 to 4. Burst spells in general at 3 mana are just kind of scary just because of the way spell mana works. You can essentially cast it for free. So now there's a little more of an actual casting cost to this. It was kind of like the same with Deny at 3 going up to 4. Any spell that's at 3 mana is just kind of scary. So this is going up 1 mana, so no, you can't just turn 3, play your Fiora, and Stand Alone. You have to wait another turn. I think Stand Alone is still fine. I think this makes it a little more reasonable of a card. I think it's still completely playable, but it is actually a bigger hit to the card than I think. Just like looking at it at first glance, going from that 3 to 4 spell slot. Going from that 3 to 4 mana slot in a spell is pretty substantial, so we'll see how it affects it. But yeah, there it is, going from 3 to 4 mana on Stand Alone. All right, next we're seeing a nerf to everyone's favorite 1-drop to see from the opponent, and that's Legion Rearguard, getting its health reduced from 2 to 1. So now it'll die, you know, to things like Vile Feast, Thermogenic Beam on 1, etc., etc. You guys know how the cards work. I think this is a pretty good hit to it. I like the change. I like the change itself. I'm glad they didn't do anything with its power, because he is a super aggressive card, right? And if they were to change him from like a 3 attack to like a 2 attack or something, it's just not, you just lose the flavor of the Legion Rearguard. I think it's still okay. I think it does make you, I feel like this does make you think, though, about just putting it into every single aggro deck. You have to decide if the 3-1's good enough, and probably is. You still smack them in the dome, especially if they don't have blocker on turn 1. Still 3 damage. Still decent, but we'll see if this is it. We'll see what this does to the burn deck in general. Speaking of burn, we got another card that a lot of people have been wanting to get a reduction in power, and that's the Boomcrew Rookie, going from 4 health down to 3 health. I am personally very happy about this change. I'm super happy they didn't make him a 0 attack follower again. If you didn't know, he used to be a 0-4 and then they made him into a 1-4. So now if they would have made him a 0-4 again, I just don't think it's good enough on its own. Attacking with 0 attack feels bad. So I'm glad they did it to the health. Now we get to remove it with things like grasp and get excited, blah, 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 three damage spells. It also makes it to where you can't attack so many times because it doesn't trade favorably as well. 4 health, you can usually attack 2 or 3 times with it because that's just a ton of health for a 2-drop. So this is a great change. I'm glad to see it. Card is still very good. I mean, it's still so much damage and so much pressure. And a lot of times it's still going to get those 2 attacks in, but now it's not as often getting 3+ attacks in. So good change. Burn players everywhere are sad, but it's okay. I think that the deck needed just a slight reduction in power. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, a slight reduction. So this is an interesting change that I wasn't expecting, and it is a buff to the Kindly Tavern Keeper. So this is going from 2 power to 3 power, basically making it to where maybe you want to put it in decks more. There isn't a lot of healing in the game in general, and this is one of those cards that a lot of control decks you want to use just to be able to heal your Nexus. So now it's just a little more appealing to actually put in your decks because it actually can attack and it can now trade in combat with other followers and champions. So I think it's really cool. I love seeing buffs to cards like this that just aren't seeing enough play. And maybe it makes us think that the Kindly Tavern Keeper is worth putting in more decks. So this one here is a nerf that I called when the card was first revealed, and that's a nerf to Deep Meditation. The card is just insane. So it's getting its mana increased by 1, going from 4 to 5 mana. It makes it a lot more reasonable if you think about it. When its effect is online, it was draw 2 for 2 mana, which is just insane. So now it's draw 2 for 3 mana. Still very good. I think it still sees plenty of play even now because it is just a good card. But before it was just a little overtuned. So yeah, this is a card I've been saying it's gonna get nerfed. When it first was spoiled, I'm like, this card's getting nerfed. It's too good. So yeah. No surprise from me here. The Deep Meditation seeing a slight reduction in power. This one is another interesting one, and we're seeing Brood Awakening reverting back to its previous self and getting a bump in mana cost from 5 to 6. This used to be a 6 cost spell, then they made it 5 cost just to give you more spider value, and then it's just very, very good, and it's seen in way too many archetypes. So they're bringing it back up to 6 mana, which is substantial because it saw far less play at 6 mana before. So yeah, we'll see if this is mostly played in things like the Vi Karina deck or Karina plus anything because Elise is very good. So yeah, we'll see what this does to the card, but yeah, it's going back to its previous self, losing a little bit of power. So we're now in the most interesting set of buffs here. This one is to Longtooth. So Longtooth comes off of Chum the Waters and Physis Chum the Waters, and the spell sucks. It's just bad. It doesn't do enough. So what they did is they made Longtooth be, instead of a 5/1, it is now a 5/2. It's interesting. I think the biggest thing is it's kind of like when we saw the Shady character get buffed from 1 health up to 3. Now you don't just get to kill it with, your parlays and Vile Feasts and stuff. So it makes it to where Longtooth more often gets to at least get into combat and deal its damage. So it does make it better. I think it's substantially better. I don't think it's ever good enough to just run Chum the Waters, but if you are playing a Fizz deck, like, you're getting a lot of these often because you're hitting their Nexus, so it does make it a lot better, and it makes it feel less bad to cast. I do kind of wish they would have just made Chum the Waters a fast spell, but that's just me because I've got a Fizz addiction, which we all know, but I admit it, it's fine. So yeah, Longtooth, bump in health. This next one is really cool, and Monkey Idol is getting a bump in health as well, going from 4 to 5. And this is interesting because of its effect. It basically gives you a 3rd tick off of it. So it makes it to where you might want to actually put it in more decks. I really want to build an Unyielding Spirit Monkey Idol deck. I haven't done it yet. So maybe this pushes me over the edge to do it. We'll see. I don't think this is enough to just suddenly make Monkey Idol see a bunch of play, but for all of us out there who like to play stupid stuff, makes it a little better and makes me a little more excited about the card. And this one's probably my second favorite or second most excited buff other than Vladimir, and that is a buff to the Slot Bot. So Slot Bot is such a cool card, and it's going from a 0-3 up to a 1-4. Having stats when it hits the board is important because now it's not just useless the turn you play it, but just the increase of stats, the way the effect works, it's actually pretty substantial. So I'm very excited. I've been wanting to make a Slot Bot deck for a long time, but I just couldn't get behind it because the card was such trash tier. So this is sweet. I love it. Just like the other changes, I don't think we're going to start all of a sudden seeing Slot Bot decks running rampant, but for those of us out there who like to meme a bit, this is a very welcome change, and I am very excited. All right, so other than just all of the buffs and nerfs, things that they did say they are on the watch list is Unyielding Spirit. So they are looking into the card. It is one of those cards that does feel pretty bad when you lose to it, because decks that can't interact with it have no way to deal with it at all. So they do recognize that. It is on their watch list. So I wouldn't be surprised if something gets adjusted with it. I feel like they want to make a change to it, but just haven't found the right way to make the change to the card yet. So I think that's perfectly reasonable, that rather than just like ruin the card or change it altogether, take a little more time, because it's such a unique effect, and changing any aspect of it does change it altogether. I'm in the camp of making it a fast spell. I think that makes it a lot more fair, just because then you can actually react to the spell being cast. So they go to put it on their Fiora, you just grasp their Fiora, whatever. It is 8 mana, so it's kind of tough to balance. So we'll see what they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it a fast spell or if they increase its mana somehow. But already at 8, making it 9 or something is pretty tough. So we'll see. But Unyielding Spirit is on their watch list. We'll see what they do with it. So Riot also said on their watch list they're having pilfered goods and all the card stealing mechanics are kind of on their watch list. There's been vocalized frustration from a lot of players that it does feel bad to lose to your own cards, but I think like some of the most frustrating things about it is when you're playing a deck that like buffs the top cards of your deck or something and they take the top cards. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if they make it to where you steal from the bottom of someone's deck, kind of like how toss is from the bottom of the deck. I could see that happening that way. I love the pilfer mechanics myself. I really think it's super fun. It's enabled a lot of cool archetypes, and it's a really cool effect, and I like being able to take cards from the opponent's hand and deck, but especially things for like pilfered goods. I think it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to take from the bottom of the deck or something like that. But we'll see. It's on their watch list. We'll see what Riot does with it, if they change it at all. But just want to let you know that they are looking at it. So those are all the major balance changes for patch 1.2 of Legends of Runeterra Rising Tides. Our first major balance patch since the new set, so I'm pretty excited for it to see what happens. I think these are pretty reasonable changes. If you want to see the full patch notes, there's a link in the description. You can go check it out and read them all for yourself, because there's a plethora of other clarity changes and personalization, blah blah blah, bunch of stuff. But these are just the meat of the patch. Hopefully these helped you. Hopefully having a visual and audible representation of these helps you out. If you did find value in this, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, I guess also let me know in the comments, and I'll keep doing these anyways. I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. I'd love to see you come hang out. We've been working on some Callista Sea monster decks and some other spicy things. You better believe Slotbot decks and Vladimir decks are going to be the next topic up for discussion in my coming streams, because I love Vladimir so much. I just wish he was better, and now he is. Thank you for watching this. I hope you found value in it. You're amazing, and until next time, you stay saucy. All right, this is the play. Let's Hearthstone him. Be good.
Vessel small, but she ain't lacking courage.
Oh my God, Captain Farron! Remember that time we were about to get decimate and win?
I'll end this.
Oh my god, that's why that's the Hearthstone card. Oh my god. Get RNG'd, nerd! Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like what you saw, it would mean a ton if you would hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification to be notified when I post some videos, share this with your friends, all that kind of stuff. You're amazing. I love you. And until next time, you stay saucy.